Hello parents, my name is Jessica Katzenberger and I am an education student at Lebanon Valley College. I am going to model a read-aloud strategy, dialogic reading, that can be used with young children to help strengthen early language and literacy skills. As you'll notice, the book you receive has post-it notes throughout it. These are the questions I will be modeling in the video. The post-its have a variety of questions, WH questions, which include who, what, where, when, why, recall questions, open-ended questions, completion questions, and distancing questions. Asking a variety of these questions helps to engage your child in the read aloud while practicing important early literacy skills such as comprehension and vocabulary development. Now I'll begin the read aloud. I will be reading The Snail and the Whale by Julia Donaldson and Alex Scheffler. This is the tale of a tiny snail and a great big, gray, blue humpback whale. This is a rock as black as soot, and this is a snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. What do you think the snail wants to do? These are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock, and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wiggle, sit still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sniffed and sighed, then cried, "I've got it, I'll hitch a ride." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail that looped and curled, and said ride wanted around the world. How do the other snails feel? Confirm the response by rereading. Be quiet, don't wiggle, sit still, stay put. This is the whale who came one night, when the tide was high and the stars were bright. A humpback whale immensely long, who sang to the snail a wonderful song, of shimmering ice and coral caves, and shooting stars and enormous waves. Enormous. Can you say the word enormous? Enormous means really big. What is something that is enormous? And this is the tale of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlight sea, and said to the snail, "Come sail with me." Would you leave your friends to travel with the snail? Why? This is the sea, so wild and free, that carried the whale and the snail on his tail to towering icebergs in far-off lands. With fiery mountains and golden sands. These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed, the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. These are the caves beneath the waves, where colorful fish with feathery fins and sharks with hideous toothy grins swim past the whale and the snail on his tail. How would you feel if you were the snail being so tiny and going to all these places? Have students expand on their answer by looking at everything around the snail in the picture. This is the sky so vast and high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with zigzag lightning flashing and frightening, the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. Repeat the last two lines. The tiny snail on the tail of the. And as she gazed at the sky, the sea, and the land, the waves and the caves and the golden sand, she gazed and gazed, amazed by it all, and she said to the whale, "I feel so small." The snail feels so small. What around the snail makes her feel small? But then came the day the whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar, making him swim too close to the shore. This is the tide slipping away. What happened to the whale? Why is this a problem? Confirm the response by rereading, making him swim too close to the shore. And this is the whale lying beached in a bay. "Quick, off the sand, back to sea," cried the snail. "I can't move on land. I'm too big," moaned the whale. The snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, "I've got it," she cried, and started to crawl. "I must not fail," said the tiny snail. Reread. "I must not fail," said the... This is the bell in the school in the bay, ringing the children in from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, "Sit straight, don't talk." This is the board as black as soot, and this is the snail with the itchy foot. A snail, the teacher turns pale. "Look," said the children, "it's leaving a trail." This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, "Save the whale." What is the snail doing in the classroom? These are the children running from school, fetching the firemen, digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the whale cool. What did the firemen do? Why? This is the tide coming into the bay, and these are the villagers shouting "Hooray!" as the whale and the snail travel safely away. Wow, now what happened to the whale? How are the villagers feeling? Back to the dock and the flock on the rock, who said, "How's time flown, and haven't you grown?" And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves, and of how the snail, so small and frail, with her looping, curling, silvery trail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out his tail, and on crawled snail after snail after snail. The word enormous again. Do you remember what that means? What is enormous on this page? And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the gray blue humpback whale. Why do you think all of these snails crawled on the whale? Where might they be going? I hope you and your children enjoy the story of the snail and the whale. We encourage you to read this book several times with your child, asking these questions and even some of your own. You'll also find in the book you received a bookmark explaining the variety of question types we used. We encourage you to use these while reading other texts to help you improve your own questioning while reading. Happy reading!